Subscribe now and press the bell icon. Never miss an update.
So one thing I'd like to tell every entrepreneur to keep talking to your users. That half an hour time spent with a user and getting those insights out of that, nothing can beat that. And this stays true no matter at what stage of the product you are, unless you're able to have that chat with your customers and actually see what is it that moves them, you will stumble at some point or the other. Hi, I'm Akash. I'm the co-founder of InstaMojo. At InstaMojo, our aim is to empower small businesses in adopting technology to help them grow their business. This covers every aspect of their journey, right from starting a business to managing it and growing and acquiring more customers for the business over time. MVP, a minimum viable product, is that version of a new product that helps you get the maximum amount of validated learnings with the least possible effort. Now note two keywords over here, validated learning and least effort. It is validated because this is a product version which helps you get the maximum amount of customer insight possible, which is only possible when you have a product out. Please note that this is not about testing a business assumption. It's about testing if your core product hypothesis helps fulfilling that particular business. Second thing I want to highlight here is least effort, which is about you have to do this with the least possible effort or in the least possible amount of time as possible. This is something that will keep coming to again and again. Time. We cannot be spending too much of time trying to build a perfect version of a product. And MVP is something which has to be done in the least amount of time as much as possible. Now I'll explain this through an example of what we did at InstaMojo. Now, as I mentioned earlier, at InstaMojo we are building a platform which helps businesses come online and grow their business. Now this involves a whole lot of aspects. It involves multiple products. And for our MVP, when we started out, we had to test what is it that we could do. Our assumption was every small business out there has trouble collecting payments online. Like there is no product which helps them do this in an efficient manner. So that was our first test, right? Can we help a small business collect payments online? Now to do this, when we look at businesses, especially in our context, there are way too many of them. We had to narrow down on a particular subset. What we identified was, let's target those merchants who are selling digital products. When I say digital products, I mean someone who's selling music that they've created. It could be selling ebooks that they have published by themselves. Why we focus on this particular narrow segment is because, first of all, they were very tech savvy, so it's easier for them to adopt a new product. And second is, there are no solutions out there which will help someone like this, right, like an independent author or a music band, to publish their music or their products online. So we focus on this. Now this is the first version of the product that we launched. It essentially covers three simple aspects, right? You upload your product, you share it with your customers, and you get paid. Like they can make a payment to you and they can download your product. This is a very similar pitch that we went by. Over time, when we felt that this is working out, we refined it a bit. Then we added more use cases. Now we were targeting users who could be selling digital products, they could be selling physical products, they could be selling tickets to a small event or a workshop that they are running, or it could be someone who's providing services, right? It could be consultancy or any other kind of a service. So use cases expanded a bit, but the product pitch remained the same. You create a payment link, you share that with your customers, and they can make a payment to you. This is how our product looked like in the second phase. Now, as I mentioned again, right, that our product pitch involves, or our aim involves a lot more than just helping you collect payments. It involves essentially helping you start and grow your business. And that is when adding more and more products came in over time. Today, InstaMojo helps you with essentially collecting payments for your products. It helps you in setting your own online presence. You can have an online store. You can have a direct relationship with your customers using our CRM. You can have a credit book. You can ship your products. And we also help you grow by giving you loans. So essentially, we have products along three lines: payments, commerce, and capital. And this is what our homepage today looks like. Essentially providing you this value across the entire spectrum. Now, this is something that we could not have done from day one, right? Which is why the MVP approach really helped us. It helped us launch a very simple product, a prototype which helped you collecting payments for an ebook that you had published. And once you were able to do that, once we saw that yes, users are liking it, this is a proposition that makes sense for them, we were able to add on to more and more use cases, as well as more products that help you do this in a much better manner. Now take a look at this pyramid. This pyramid tells you what an MVP is about. This minimum version of your product, not only does it have to be functional, it also has to be reliable, usable, and most importantly, it has to connect with the user emotionally. Note that this pyramid is unlike the Maslow's pyramid, which relates to hierarchy of needs of any particular individual. In that particular pyramid, as per Maslow, you fulfill one level of needs and then you move on to the next one. But a MVP is very different. You cannot wait for the product to be fully functional before you start making it usable. You have to address all of these points in one shot. At InstaMojo, when we built our MVP, we had to make sure that the user, the end user, is emotionally connected to this product. It is something which delights them. Now for that, the product doesn't have to be very fancy. It can have rough edges. It need not be the smoothest product out there, or it may not have the fanciest of UIs. But it has to do a job, and it has to do that job well. Or if you ask me, right, when is it that a user can connect with a product emotionally? I think there are two ways to look at it. One is if the user is willing to pay for it. Second is if the user wants to refer this product to their friends. In our case, you are able to achieve both. And I think that is what the job of an MVP is about. Now, there are many reasons to do an MVP. First of all, there is no perfect product. Your product will always iterate, it will always keep improving. You cannot wait to build a perfect product and then go out and sell it to your users, which is why do an MVP to get there faster. The other piece is most products do not fail because they are bad or because they are badly designed or not very usable. These products fail because they are not able to validate or fulfill the proposition that they set out to do. And an MVP lets you validate this proposition in the quickest time and at the least cost possible. The next reason is, and again it's a very important reason, is that it's much easier to learn from your users when you have a product than without. It's one thing to test a business proposition by doing as many surveys and research as possible. While that's really important, you'd also get much better and much more validated feedback when you're able to do this with a product in hand, and which is where a MVP comes into play. Now here, I would like to bring up one more example of what we followed at InstaMojo. A couple of years back, we launched products which will help a business in loans. Essentially, we're able to lend out money to these businesses to help them grow. Now, as a business, we know any user out there needs money, right? There is a business problem which you can solve. But how do we do this with the MVP? Now, we could have spent a lot of time building a product which does this in a very efficient manner possible. But what we did is, we started off with a very simple Wufoo form. Essentially, we gave a form to these users saying, you know what, if you want a loan, please apply for it. And as per this criteria is, if you'll be eligible or not. Once we had that basic interest coming in from the users, at our end, we did almost all the things manually, which was about figuring out are they eligible for it or not, doing all the operational work, liaising with our partner companies to do this. So we did a lot of these things manually. And only when we were able to hit a certain traction that we set out to achieve is when we automated most of this entire flow. What this helped us do is get our proposition validated, which is about how many of our users would need a loan, how well can I actually fulfill it, what does this lead to for me as a business plan. And then when we had that conviction, which was validated over a matter of 3 to 4 months, is when we automated everything. And today this is an entire line of products that we have at InstaMojo. At InstaMojo, we have a saying that we are perpetually in a MVP mode. And the reason for that is because we keep launching more and more products, and at the same time, our bandwidth is always constrained. So over the years, there are multiple MVPs that we do, right? We keep doing it. And while we have failed at a lot of products, what we have seen is some of our most expensive failures are ones where we did not follow the MVP approach in the best possible manner. I'll give you an example. About 3 to 4 years back, there was a new mobile app that we were launching, which was slightly tangential to our business. And over here, we spent about 8 odd months building the MVP. And we made the cardinal sin, which is we tried to build a product which was far too polished and it was going on to delight the user in every way possible. What we realized, we spent that much time. When we were actually about to release a product, and when we did that, our core hypothesis did not prove, it did not work out. And then we went back and figured, this is somewhere where we strayed from our original approach, which has always been to keep iterating faster, to keep doing an MVP and keep improving on over time. The first time that we strayed and we spent so much of time working on it, it ended up being a failure. And what did we miss out on that? We actually lost out on 8 months of effort, which not only is a time sink, but also a severe demotivator to the entire team. So that's where, I keep saying and we keep reiterating that, what, as a company which is always growing and has bigger ambitions, you have to move faster, you have to keep iterating. And essentially, we are perpetually in MVP mode. Let's look at how do we plan for MVP. Well, there are 4 steps to it. Step number 1, talk to your users. Talk to your users and understand and validate your hypothesis from a business point of view. Is this something that would help them? Is this something which is a problem which is being felt by them to a higher degree, which essentially would mean that you need to build a product for this? Second, and this is really critical, define what is the metric for MVP to be a success. And when I say metric, identify what is it that you want to achieve. Is it about revenue? Is it about engagement or any goal? Now, be careful to not choose a vanity metric for this. But that's also a bigger discussion that we may delve into. However, the key point over here is to identify what the metric is and to what extent do you want to achieve that as part of the MVP. Third, launch quickly. Time is always of the essence. And the more we talk about MVP, the more I'll keep emphasizing on how you need to keep doing it sooner and in a much lesser amount of time as far as possible. Do it sooner so you can keep iterating on it. Fourth, get your product, get your MVP to be adopted by users. Go out there, see how they're using it, get feedback from it. See if this actually helps you in achieving the metrics that you'd want to do. Let's look at some of the common mistakes that we make during this process. Number 1 is not having the right success metric in place. As we emphasized earlier, it's very critical to know what is it that this MVP is supposed to achieve and at what level, right? It could be X amount of revenue that you want to achieve. It could be Y number of paying customers that you want to bring to the table, whatever that may be. But have this metric in place. That will help you determine tomorrow if the MVP is successful or not. Mistake number 2, MVP is not the end goal. Remember that MVP helps you test a hypothesis. Once this hypothesis has been tested, then you need to determine what should you do to take this product to the next level. Because a lot more effort is needed in terms of refining, fulfilling the entire bigger proposition and so on. And MVP is not the end goal. It's just a stepping stone to realize where is it that the product should be going and how do you take it to that level. Mistake number 3, do not build for everyone. Identify a subset of your target users where this problem would be felt to the highest degree. At InstaMojo, when we started building our first version or our MVP, we did not look at all the businesses out there. While that was a target for us, we identified a small segment, which was those selling digital products. If you target a base too wide, it's going to lead to failure because it's very difficult to get those surveys. It's very difficult to focus on a product and also the right problem, which is the one that you're trying to solve out there. Mistake number 4, do not spend too much time on the MVP. Time is of the essence over here. The sooner you're able to build, the sooner you're able to get feedback from your users, and the sooner you'll be able to iterate. Do not spend too much time building a very nifty product or one that addresses all the edge cases possible. Once this problem is solved and you're able to connect to the user with this is where your MVP should be done. Note that right from the first version itself, that problem, which in this case could be transportation, has to be solved. You cannot wait for 5 different product iterations to be able to solve that problem. Only thing that changes through these stages is how will the problem get solved. In fact, I have a twist on this particular image. As you iterate through these phases, the value to the user should keep increasing, and you should be able to see this in whichever metric you're measuring for it. It could be revenue, it could be retention, it could be something else. But that value has to increase as you progress along these phases. A final note I want to add over here. Think of MVP as an ongoing process instead of a single release. Validation is rarely that neat and tidy. You have to keep iterating, and this process has to keep continuing. As I mentioned earlier, at InstaMojo, we are perpetually in MVP mode. That journey never stops. So one thing I'd like to tell every entrepreneur, to keep talking to your users. I think that's extremely critical. Being in this space, being in the tech space, we are very, very data oriented a lot of times. We tend to believe that, looking at the right metrics, Understanding user behavior via all of our data and analytics helps us understand what the user is. But I think while this is extremely important, it's also critical to keep talking to the user every now and then. That half an hour time spent with the user, be it in person, be it on a phone call, and getting those insights out of that, nothing can beat that. That qualitative research is extremely important. And this stays true no matter at what stage of the product you are. It could be when you're just starting out building MVP. It could be when you have a bigger business which is generating a lot of revenue. Even at that point, unless you're able to have that chat with your customers and actually see what is it that moves them, you will stumble at some point or the other. So only advice is keep talking to your users. So as an individual, I like to read a lot on history and philosophy. And this is where I think I would give a couple of recommendations, right? So there are a couple of books I'd want to recommend which don't strictly fall into your business management framework. But one of them is, of course, it's like a global bestseller. It's called Thinking Fast and Slow by Daniel Kahneman. So this book actually helps you think, get your mental models in place. It helps you recognize a lot of ways in which we tend to make wrong decisions on a day-to-day basis. And the moment we are more aware of that, it makes us a better, smarter human being. The other book that that really made an impact on me was this book called Justice, What's the Right Thing to Do? Now this is a book which traces how humans, we tend to make judgments for the last couple of millennia. And this puts into perspective the different models on which you take decisions. Are you looking at it from a greater good perspective? Are you looking at it from a very, very fundamental principle in terms of is this right or wrong? So that really made me question. I think this is critical in the times where we are in today. And how this book also helped me is, as any individual and more so as an entrepreneur, we tend to make a lot of decisions. There are too many things that fall into our plate every single day. It could be something about, let's say, pricing, about strategy, about how do you deal with your team internally, all kinds of issues. This helps you put into place what are those fundamental principles or broader philosophy that you align by. And that makes it really simple to take those decisions on a day-to-day basis.